L2s, the way I would say it, L2s are on a spectrum of decentralization. And there are some things that are more decentralized than others. I think that's normal. For any technology that is pretty nascent and that has very, very difficult kind of surface area to handle to make sure that this stuff is totally robust. If anybody today who's building an L2 tried to delete the admin key, throw it away, and basically say, great, it's decentralized, have at it, I think it'd be incredibly irresponsible because the tech is not ready yet. It's not battle tested enough. It's not robust enough. L2s are really complicated. It's very, very hard stuff to make sure that this code is correct. So I think what they're doing, by and large, is the right thing to do for what they're building. Now, if you don't believe in the concept of a layer 2 to begin with, then okay, you have a different quarrel. But if your claim is that the L2s are not sufficiently decentralized, I think most people on Ethereum agree with that. Most people will tell you, like, yes, I agree. If you go to L2Beat, which is the biggest aggregator website that kind of shows you all the data about layer 2s, they will show you data about who's actually decentralized, who uses a multisig, who has an admin key, who actually has fraud proofs enabled. All this stuff, I think Ethereum has a culture of being very, very transparent about what is the relative trust assumptions you're making for each of these layer 2s. At the end of the day, I would put the Ethereum L2s and the Bitcoin L2s in very, very different camps. Right? Ethereum L2, there's a real meaning to what an L2 implies. And that's why you can say, okay, this is a trash L2, quote unquote, because it's not that decentralized, doesn't have fraud proofs, blah, blah, blah. We know what we mean when we say that. Bitcoin L2s, on the other hand, it is kind of meaningless to say a trash Bitcoin L2 because Bitcoin L2s are not really L2s in the way that we talk about Ethereum rollups being L2s. Bitcoin L2s, I was talking to a Bitcoin L2 founder the other day and asked him, okay, so what does it actually mean when you say this is a Bitcoin L2? Because you don't have permissionless fraud proofs, you don't have any kind of forced exit. So effectively you still have like a committee or a multisig or whatever that's controlling the stuff over a bridge. So what does it mean that this is a Bitcoin L2? Like it's not that I just have to trust Bitcoin, I also have to trust your shit. And their answer to me was, well, Bitcoin L2 means that you're aligned with Bitcoin. I was like, okay, so it's like a vibe. It's like, you're Bitcoin, we're team Bitcoin, that's why we're Bitcoin L2. And that's effectively what that means right now, right? There are mechanics or mechanisms that you can use to actually build an L2 on Bitcoin, right? Lightning is a Bitcoin L2. BitVM is a mechanism by which you could build a Bitcoin L2, but it is so incredibly inefficient that nobody has even tried to build anything at scale using BitVM, right? So everything that people are actually doing that's called a Bitcoin L2 is basically a sidechain with a multisig and good vibes. And to me, okay, that's bullshit. That's not really a Bitcoin L2. That's a Bitcoin sidechain. And those I think are much less interesting to me than what's happening in the Ethereum world with respect to Ethereum rollups.